This is your girl, Resident Atheist. Another video. Well, I'm sorry, another audio. Man, today was an interesting day. Let me see if I have 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes to talk my shit. I don't expect to get a lot of views on the audios that I post on YouTube. Like I said, a lot of these audios are just reminders of how my thought process is. So today, Kyle-Rittenhouse, the young man who shot two Black Lives Matter protesters. Yeah. Listen, this message is actually to young Black men and women out there who tend to share their conversation with other antagonists, white supremacists, and that's exactly what they are. I was on Twitter earlier today, and the young man Kyle Rittenhouse got acquitted. Now, we all saw this. Anybody who's looking or listening to this trial, there's no way that young man was going to get convicted, because he was at a protest with a gun. And, a lot of people say it was self-defense, whatever the case was. He brought a gun to a protest and he was expecting to shoot somebody or protect America. Being all patriotic, trying to protect America from these white Black Lives Matter protesters. Wow. That's interesting. But anyway, listen, like I said, I was on Twitter listening to this conversation, and there was this white antagonist. I'm trying to remember the name. I guess Wall Street should be called White Wall Street. But anyway, listen, this guy came from, and this young lady was just screaming and yelling, and then another Black young lady was screaming and yelling. Another young brother was, trying to stop trying to convince young Black people. These white antagonists who come from the playbook of a white supremacist. I'm telling you, they sing the same song. They talk about stats. They talk about records from the FBI. They talk about records from the CIA. Listen, young Black people, anytime somebody comes with per capita stats and all that stuff, talking about y'all like information, chuckle, laugh, move on, dispute them, tell them you don't have time to have that conversation with them. These people, obviously, white supremacists, do not identify with your struggle. There's no sense of having a conversation with or trying to convince a white supremacist of your struggle. It's a waste of time. It really is. I literally don't have white friends. And it's not because I choose not to. It's because I don't identify with their struggle and they can't identify with mine. So how is it that I'm going to make friends with individuals who cannot identify with me or the struggle that I'm going through as a Black woman? So young Black people going to have to learn how to shut that conversation down. Shut it down. Because he comes from an antagonist white supremacist playbook. It's pretty much a checklist. He practically read off everything, said everything to these Black people in regards to what Black people have. Black people are the most richest people in the world. In the world? What Black people? In the world? Listen, one thing I have learned, you cannot compare a Black American, a descendant of slave, Black American, to an African American, someone who is born in Africa. A white person can be born in Africa. And they call it Afrikaners or whatever the hell they call. But my point is, white people are comparing us because they look at us as all the same. And of course, to them, we're all the same. We look alike. We come from the same tribe. We come from the same spot, from some origin in Africa. Listen, when they start talking these talking points of stats, that their forefathers didn't, you can't, that black people or per capita do a lot of murders. When you hear stuff like that, dismiss them. Immediately dismiss them. Don't waste your time on a fruitless conversation. These people will never identify you. They consider themselves saviors of America. America does not own, they do not own America. And this is what you tell them. You cannot, they're trying to protect their old money wealth. And the way they do that is by instilling them same talking points to their children. And you could tell a white supremacist. This guy literally told them he was homeless. But yet he was reading, coming all these stats, all this information, and go. He knew all about black people, but what the fuck? Anybody who talk more about black people and they from a different race is a fucking racist. You cannot possibly know all there is about black people and don't and try. His job is to inject, to confuse, and tell you that Black Wall Street, and did not exist. Places like Slocum, Texas, where there was, I think it was 1910, where there was a riot based on fake news. These white men decided to go in that town and kill the black people. All this was based on fake news. Listen, no sense of trying to share your pain with people who will never identify with you. I'm just being real. If you can't identify with me, what's the point of me sharing my ancestry pain? Because you would never relate to it. You would never agree that the America was built on slave money. And a lot of these institutions were built on slave money. The system of white supremacy is built on slave money. These people were so afraid when slavery ended. They didn't know what to do with themselves. They did not know how they were going to make their money. They no longer they couldn't own a person who was a commodity, who they bred to make money. Now imagine setting this ignorant person free, and they're like the audacity of our horse wanting to be free from us crazy ass humans. Imagine that. The dog, the pig, wanting to be free from this. The nerve of the dog, the pig, having rights, human rights. We breeded you, crazy black monkeys. No, imagine losing that type of wealth and no longer having that type of wealth. You can no longer have sex with that type of wealth anymore. So what you do, you created this whole system to imprison them for free, make them work for life in prison until they die. Then in the early 1900s, they had this whole birth of a nation, Ku Klux Klan rally at the White House. Man, no, look, historically, what happened to the descendants of slaves, it's on record. They never got any rewards other than backlash, other than scam talk. It's like, they call black men boys because they were boys then. They had no knowledge of themselves. They were still babies mentally. The physical form was not, but still, they had to figure out how to control something they no longer own and possessed. So in order to keep something in a state of ignorance, They put them in certain neighborhoods. They make sure they didn't have the proper education. So, see, these white folks don't identify with that. Poor white folks can. But even some of these poor white folks come with the talking points. Some of them rule rednecks, crazy crackers, honkies, whatever word we used to call them, whiteys. In the 80s, in the 70s, we called them whiteys. But, look, Whitey, the man, did his thing as far as keeping black people oppressed in America. So anytime someone comes with a conversation that compares us to the rest of the world of Africans or descendants of Africans from other parts of the world, it has nothing to do with Black America. You cannot compare our struggle with Nigeria, with Kenya, with Nairobi, with Madagascar, or India, or South America. You cannot compare our struggle to Puerto Rico or Honduras, Panama. You cannot compare our struggle to any of those places. Sure, those places, the islands, Canada, sure, those places that once upon a time was enslaved, but our story is unique. And hopefully, that shit will not happen nowhere in the world again. Even though slavery in some parts of the world is going on right now, but the way 400 years of slavery, probably plus, and then you're free for only 100 and something years? Man, we can't make this up, yo. We cannot make it up. So young people, message to my young black people, do not waste your time with these white supremacists, antagonists, because they do believing in coming from their racist book. I mean, it's the same talk from 20 years ago. Same talk from 1960. Same talk from the early 1900s. Just in a different form, but it's the same talk. And it's amazing when I hear it, because they would tell you're not educated, you need to believe the facts. No, you don't. Listen, anytime these people, look, CIA, FBI, and any government that was used to spy on black communities or use black communities as a testing, how can I say it? Use that community as the way to a science. A lot of black communities was a science project. That's why they put the cops there. They need to have their overseer to watch their science, their rats, their roaches, their ignorant people. Let's dump the drugs. Let's blame the drugs on the crime. Let's keep them jobless. Let's not give them a loan. But mind you, other minorities from other countries got their reparations. They got money to start business. But black Americans never got that. We didn't get no 40 acres in the mule. We got nothing. And every time this 13%, there's been 13% in population since the 1920. Ever since then, these motherfuckers get mad when black people are handed some shit. Crazy, right? Kyle, he got off. He got acquitted. So guess what y'all need to do? Guess what the families of that he killed, because he could have got manslaughter. That was considered manslaughter. That judge was not going to let him go to prison. We saw that. The world saw how that trial went down, and we knew he was going to get off. But listen, they can sue his family. They can make his family feel miserable. And that's what those families need to do in order to make sure he feel the pain, make sure he is uncomfortable for the rest of his life for killing those protesters, those poor Black Lives Matter protesters. May you rest in peace, and I hope your family get justice. This is Girl Kessa K. I'm out of here.